Yeah, we are live.
Good, we're live. Hi, everyone. I'm so excited to be here today. It's the official launch of the educational program for 1,000 Faces, and we have a great conversation for all of you ahead. I'm very happy to be here with all of you. And we have amazing speakers coming up. So can you Nisha, please share the presentation? So the topic we have for you today is how can Web3 be used for sustainable advancements? I bring to you today 3 amazing projects. The first one is Blue Heart Economy, and our amazing speaker, Sandra Ponce de Leon. The second project we'll be presenting today is Raíz Vertical Farms with Lucia Salas de la Pisa, and we are presenting ClimaDAO as well. So quickly to put everyone on the same page for today, we will I will say why we're talking about this today, and then we will present each one of the projects, and we will ask some questions. We will finalize, take some takeaway points, and we will give you some exciting announcements that are coming ahead. So why are we talking about this? So we're moving into a world where it's a new world is developing. It's crypto blockchain, a lot of new technologies coming up, and alongside of that, we have an important topic to consider, and this is sustainability. So a lot of when all of these new technologies started coming to life, the carbon emissions, one of the consequences was carbon emissions went really high, and you had a lot of effect and impact negatively on the environment. So as we move on this direction, a lot of people since a few years now are starting to really consider why it's so important to consider the environment with the projects and to have impact outside of this project. So the first project that we will talk to today is Blue Heart Economy, and I present to you Sandra Ponce de Leon. Hi, Sandra.
Hello, hello. Should I just let you know when I'm ready for the next slide?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, well, it's great to be here. Thank you for having me. We can actually go ahead and just go into the next slide where I can tell you a little bit about myself. I'm Sandra. I'm Sandra Ponce de Leon. I'm the creator of the NFT Boutique. I'm also a co-founder of More Women in Crypto and Unlockable Content Agency. My 2 passions are the ocean and cats. And I'm going to go a little bit into my journey to become an ocean actionista and also to the NFT boutique. So I rediscovered my love for maybe we can stay back on the other slide. Oh, we're advancing. Is it going automatically? Oh, there we go. Okay. So I rediscovered my love for the ocean back in 2017 when I took a month-long sailing trip through the Windward Islands. And that trip was really beautiful, amazing, but it was also eye-opening in terms of what I saw with many of the coral reefs of the islands that we visited, everywhere from Martinique to Grenada, which is the whole track of the Windward Islands. And there were all of these dead coral zones, just white coral, bleached white, with no life whatsoever. So after that trip and more of a personal heartbreak, I really poured my heart into the ocean, and I founded a marketing agency called the Blue Economy Agency, and we focused all of our work on all things ocean. And I also started writing for Forbes, and now I have a column in Grit Daily all about oceans issues and solutions. Because I was coming from Silicon Valley, and now I live in Tulum, but I've always seen technology and innovation as a way to resolve some of the answers that we need in this world. And I don't necessarily mean, technology is the answer to everything, but, also applying things like earth wisdom in regenerative farming to help us sequester more carbon, to, grow our own food, to live more in harmony with nature. We can go to the next slide now. So it was during that time that I became familiar with what circular economies were, which are largely focused on reusing and recycling. But because of my work with the ocean and my passion for the ocean, I started to see the circular system related to material transformation of ocean materials as the blue circular economy, with the difference being that the blue circular economy has a focus on transforming materials that are taken out of or retrieved from the ocean. So some of the most common use cases are things like plastic, seaweeds, or other materials. We can go to the next slide. So products like shoes that are made from discarded fishing nets into clothing, seaweed, straws that are made from seaweed, or taking seaweed and turning it into biofertilizer for agriculture. Those were all things that I saw as the blue circular economy. Another focus of the blue circular economy is regeneration, and also a shift in business values, really, to people over profit, and a focus on local economies, and of course the ocean and the planet. You can go to the next slide. The blue heart economy is the evolution of the circular economy when applied to the regeneration of the ocean through Web3. The next slide. Why the ocean? The ocean is the beating, pulsing heart and soul of humanity. 70% of our planet is made up of water. And so when we think about the ocean is Earth, the ocean is our planet, and the regeneration of our planet really depends on the health of the ocean. Next slide. I also see the ocean as the soul of humanity. It's this mysterious, unknown, vast, beautiful, pure. It's a place of inspiration, but it's also fragile. And like many of ecosystems, it's suffering, and it's also on the verge of collapse. So Web3 has really given us the heart. The art, which is our creative expression, is at the heart of Web3. Web3 allows us to express and to share our passions. We're all artists, we're all creators, we're entrepreneurs. And that creation, that inspiration, it comes from a divine source. At least that's what I believe. We create from divine. So, and entrepreneurship is also a creation process, because you have this ability to see new worlds and create them. And Web3 empowers creators and enables social impact entrepreneurs like us to fully express what's in our hearts and to build the world that we want to see. So next slide. The blue heart economy is a connection to our souls, to what's deep inside us, just like the ocean. The next slide. So Web3 really empowers the blue heart economy because it's about creation, which connects us to our soul wisdom and that divine inspiration that allows us to transform ourselves, to regenerate ourselves and our planet. And then through that creation process, inspire others and really shout it out so that we can amplify that message far and wide. Next slide. And the other thing is, especially for entrepreneurs, we need to get the word out. We need to inspire each other. We need to support each other. I feel that Web3 is really like that, all about that. So my love for the ocean eventually led me here to Tulum, which is where I live. I've been living here for about a year. Tulum is home to the world's most important reef, coral reef after the Great Barrier Reef. It's also a place that was formed because of the asteroid that crashed into the Earth 66 million years ago. And as a result of that asteroid crash, Tulum is also home to the, or this area of Quintana Roo is home to the largest underwater river system in the world. And those are called what are called cenotes, which are this beautiful phenomenon that it ranges from caves with stalactites and, feels like you're in a jewel box to these beautiful lagoons, but all fresh water, very healing. They were of immense sacred importance to the Mayan culture. And really, because of all this water that's here, it's a huge place of flow and attraction. So there's many people like me that were attracted to the beauty of Tulum and came here during the pandemic and realized that we could work when we were working from anywhere. It could mean, even working from a place as beautiful as Tulum. So next slide. But this is also Tulum. It suffers from a lot of garbage, a lack of infrastructure to be able to deal with garbage, and a lot of garbage washing up from everywhere, but a lot of garbage in Tulum here. When I walk out of my high-rise apartment, I step over garbage and plastic everywhere. So how, being here, the question is really, how can we clean Tulum and also be an inspiration to the world? The next slide. So the NFT boutique. I really see the NFT boutique as this point of entry, as this portal to the Blue Heart economy. NFTs are a gateway to crypto, a gateway to decentralization. The NFT boutique is an actual physical location. It's a community hub. We've got things like karaoke, we've got sound healings, art openings, we do ice cream socials. We also meet with more women in crypto there regularly. And it's also a point of plastic collection for our community. So we can start to incentivize the behaviors that we want to see in the world. So we can go to the next slide. So this is the NFT boutique in Tulum on the left-hand side, and it's where we're creating the new circular economy, the Blue Heart economy, which is enabled by Web3 and the mission is really to deplastify the planet through the merging of digital and IRL worlds and incentivizing these new behaviors. So what you see on the left is Pinky, the IRL plastic collector. He only likes to eat plastic. That plastic is collected at the NFT boutique and then taken through a transformation process with the technology that transforms it into clean energy. We can go to the next slide, I think. Yeah, so at the boutique, well, sorry, go back again. At the boutique, we focus on NFTs that are planet positive, that have planet positive utilities. We have collections, a collective of NFTs called the Guardians of Nature. Part of that collection is the Cosmic Cats 420, which is my collection to save cats, the House of Panther, and the Pet Castaritos. As I mentioned, we do weekly meetups where we're hosting more women in crypto. And we really see ourselves as a community onboarding and center for education about NFTs. We also have a Bitcoin machine, and we're giving out free Bitcoin to the community. We are a family-friendly community hub, and we're also rapidly becoming this tourist and influencer hotspot. So love that, love getting all of the tags. We're also a metaverse entry point because we do our More Women in Crypto meetings and a hybrid, also in the NFT boutiqueverse. So that's really what we're doing at the boutique. So we can now go to the next slide. And this is how you can see how we're using the power of Web3 to incentivize these new behaviors through our NFT collections and also rewarding people for these planet positive behaviors. At the NFT boutique, and we can go to the next slide. Everything that we do is about using our creativity to find and develop new systems to help the planet, to transform ourselves through our behaviors, and also, do things that are good for the earth, and also inspire others to do the same, to be empowered by what's in their hearts. And that's what we really need. We need new systems. Our ecosystems are fragile. They're, within Tulum itself. We can go to the next slide. Within Tulum itself, It's this very fragile ecosystem, and we need new systems to protect. So that's why the Blue Heart economy is one such system. It's an ecosystem that's made up of a lot of different activities, and all of that flows and beats while it creates value. So for the ecosystem, the Blue Heart economy is made up of the NFT boutique, which I mentioned has IRL in real life activations. We offer utility as a service, the plastic collection, DeFi and DeSci, refi education, our meetups. Blue Machines is still a company that's in incubation, but it is the company that will do the pre-transformation process. So it'll be the collecting of the plastic supply, creation of the plastic supply chain, collecting from all the different animals that we intend to put all over Tulum, and then taking those to pre-transformation centers where they're shredded, and then they move over to our partner, PetGas, which has an innovation called non-catalytic pyrolysis, which is the transformation process of plastic into clean fuels. And then we have Unlockable Content Agency, which helps to create and develop these new NFT collections, which are planet positive. And then you can go to the next slide. So this is the ecosystem. You can see that the Blue Heart economy reminds us that creation is a natural part of us, that our creations hold value, and that those creative expressions can help us find new answers for our planet. So, and you can see here kind of how everything flows together. It's the extension of the circular economy, but applied to saving the ocean. And that's it. Thank you.
Thank you. That's a beautiful project. It's really inspiring, and it's really a full ecosystem, as you put it. You have the in real life part, have the digital part, and you also mentioned something very important: the community, that you're building around. I was curious, in the community, are there interactions with the local people? How are local people accepting the project? And is there a part of education also, because it's also collecting the plastic, but also teaching people to not return?
Yes. Yeah, we definitely, like I said, we see ourselves as a place of onboarding the community, locals, everybody, women, and we do see our role as developing that education. So we do intend to have monthly courses that are onboarding courses for the community to learn about Web3, to learn about crypto, to get their wallets. That's also why we have a free Bitcoin offer. Is we want to bring people in and get them excited about adopting these new technologies, and really taking control of their financial freedom and independence, and learning about what these new systems, these new financial systems can do to empower us all. So yes, we definitely see ourselves as a place of onboarding for everyone in the community.
That's amazing. Just maybe one more question. Can you, for the plastic collection, are there specific plastic that, or is it a hard plastic, or do you have specific information regarding that?
Yeah, it's essentially any type of plastic can be transformed through this process. Yeah, so right now, we are still in the early phases of everything, but again, sort of being that touch point to the community, that educational touch point to the community, we want to show people that it's fun. We have animals that are in the shape of the cat, as you saw. We also have one that's in the shape of a fox. We have a mermaid. We're going to do jaguars, and the idea is to put them all around Tulum. And then we also have instructions on the animals themselves. Like it says, Pinky has a sign that says, "I like my plastic compact, clean and compact," because that's the best way to get it. And we also do translation. So it's not just in English, it's in Spanish. Obviously, we're in Mexico, so we have to speak Spanish. And that's really what we do with everything. I know that this is primarily an English presentation, but even when we do our events for More Women in Crypto, we do, in real time translation so that, everyone feels like they're part of the conversation.
That's really beautiful. We just maybe if you have maybe something that comes up to mind, how Web3 has really and digital has really helped you, or you think in the future it will help to bring real life projects? If you have maybe some inspirational or things that you have found out in your journey.
Yeah, Web3 is Web3 is the reason for all of this. The Web3 is the reason for me opening up the NFT boutique, for creating a collection, for even the point of inspiration where, I think that like my aha moment with Web3, and again, coming from Silicon Valley, coming from a founder background where, I had a startup and I did try to fundraise. And when I really kind of had that aha moment, the light bulb moment with Web3 was when I realized that I didn't have to rely on those sources of funding anymore, that if I create a community and I get people around me that are cat lovers, that want to, help save the ocean, my ocean tribe, that we can do this together. It's not just, I'm in it by myself, but we can, we're all stakeholders in all of this. And, that's why the shared responsibility is at the center of the Blue Heart economy. But yes, seeing that, this is a pathway to empower everyone to create and to build and to the world that we want to see. A big topic here in Tulum, because of the fragility of the ecosystem and things like clean waters, I don't really know right now if I'm bathing in clean water. I don't really want to know, but that is also an initiative of some of the projects that are here in Tulum, like Regen Tulum and Tulum Coin DAO. The idea is that as a community, we can, perhaps fund the development of a new water treatment facility that will help us all for all of the community. So I think that's the beautiful thing about Web3. Is that ability to kind of see in the future is if we gather our tribes around us, we can create the world we want to see.
Thank you for that. It's a very powerful message that you're sending out for us who want to really have an impact, and also an example of a community as Tulum, which is in Mexico, is a developing country still, and how something like Web3 can really have impact in wherever in the world you are. So thank you for that.
Yes.
We move on to the next project for now. So the next project is Raiz Vertical Farms. I think it's based in Lisbon. And I present Lucia Salas de la Pisa. Hi, Lucia, can you present yourself and the project, please?
Hello, yes, Marlene, thank you very much. My name is Lucia and I am co-founder, CMO and COO of Raiz Vertical Farms, meaning that I take charge of managing operations and marketing in the company. So we are here today to explain a little bit of our Web3 angle, but I think we can start by saying that Raiz is a young startup that was created last year with the purpose of transforming underused urban spaces into vertical farms that can grow more food with less natural resources there where people need it the most, there is more urgency for having a sustainable food production system. So if you want to move forward to the next slide, I'm going to talk a little bit of what is vertical farming, vertical agriculture. This is just the way to grow food vertically instead of horizontally, using systems such as rack, towers. In our case, we are using towers, specifically hydroponic towers. So our farm, the one we have right now, our concept farm has 6 hydroponic towers in a space of 18 square meters. And there, just for you to have an idea of how productive these farms are, in 18 square meters, we can grow up to 900 plants every 45 days, using 95% less space, 90% less water, and 50% less fertilizants. And all this we are doing by using clean energy, which we think is very, very important, and in the middle of the city. So right now in the middle of Lisbon. Please, let's go to the next slide. So how do we merge vertical farming with decentralized food system? That is what we are aiming to create. Let's go to the next slide. We have our first vertical farm, and we realized all of a sudden that actually the upfront cost of the capex, which is all the investment you need for the physical equipment of these farms and the technological integration, was a little bit expensive. So that's where we started thinking of options to scale faster. And one of them was obviously using blockchain, because that allows to anyone around the world to take part in the business, to be part of this and have a bigger impact. And also, we want to prove that what we are saying about saving water, saving land, saving different natural resources is easy to check, so that people can access that information and see that we are effectively saving those natural resources, right? We are sick of seeing greenwashing over and over. So we want to prove that this is true, and blockchain is also a great tool to increase traceability. So the idea is that our farms are run by a software. We have our own software, and this software will fit and the blockchain, and the blockchain will be able to record all the information of the natural resources we use, so that anyone can check that what we're saying is right. Please, let's go to the next slide. So here is a graph. I hope I can explain it well. Usually it's Emiliano, my co-founder, who knows a lot more about blockchain, who explains this, but I'm gonna do it, and I'm sure that we did it in a way that is easy to understand. So on top of this graph, you can see our vertical farm, right? A representation of the vertical farm. The vertical farm gives not only a way of revenue to the community that owns the farm, also fresh veggies and fresh herbs, right? So the idea is that by using NEAR, which is the first carbon neutral blockchain, we can, on the one side, on the left side, collect the data of all the resources that we are using, as we just said, and on the other side, record the amount of product that is getting out, and a percentage of the revenue that will go to DeFi users. And those people are down here. And who are these people? These people are the people that are going to fund the network of farms by investing or in NFTs or in our impact token. Okay, and I will explain a little later what are the NFTs and what is the impact token. So by investing in Raiz, they will give us funding, and they will get a farm share, meaning that they will get a part of the farm they are funding, and in exchange they will get a yield, which is a part of the profit of that farm, but also sustainability metrics, meaning with that investment of that person, how much water they are helping us to save, how much land they are helping us to save, and how much CO2 emissions are they helping us to save. So I hope this is clear, but also if anyone in the audience is very interested in this model, please feel free to reach out. We have our white paper that is freshly out of the hands of our team. So we would love to have some feedback and also to share more information with anyone that is interested. So now moving forward, so let's explain a little bit of the practicality of this integration. So we said that we want to use near the blockchain, but specifically we are starting with near to be able to prove the transparency of our company and also to be able to scale faster. The thing is, we have launched already a series of NFTs, specifically in Mintbase and Satori, which are two stores. The collection or the NFTs we posted in Satori, we minted in Satori, are collectibles, and the NFTs that we did in Mintbase are utility NFTs. What is an utility NFT? Is an NFT that has a value in the real world, is attached to a physical asset. And in this case, we have an NFT that represents a plant. And then if you buy that NFT online, you can come to the farm, redeem it, and then you get the plant. And also we have another NFT that represents one of the systems, so one of the towers. If you buy that NFT, you are helping us to fund one of the systems inside our farm. The idea at the beginning was that this will have a quantified impact in terms of the CO2, the water and the miles, but at this point we couldn't make it possible. So the NFTs we currently have just by buying those NFTs, and they are available in these stores, you will help us in our mission, but you won't get still these sustainability metrics. But the idea is wider, so we have a global ambition, and to be able to grow as fast as we want, we really want to create our own fungible token, meaning Raiz token, that will help to fund new farms. How does this work? Well, one farm is going to be subdivided in farm shares. That will be a token. So each part of the farm will be represented by a token, and people from all over the world can come buy the token, and then they will get what we said. They will get on the one hand, the yield, on the other hand, the sustainability metrics. But we also want to develop some gamification so that people that are part of the ecosystem don't just do it to contribute, they also do it to be part of the network. So in the future, our clients, our investors, and our farm hands will be in the ecosystem able to earn tokens for taking part in the ecosystem. And this is very related with what Sandra was talking about before, which is that we want the community to be part of the ecosystem. And if there is a specific community, let's say any community around the world that wants to have a vertical farm because they need the product, they want to have a clean and local way of producing food, then I'm just looking at this question, but I will answer it later. Okay. Sorry, I lost the thing. So the idea is that they will get involved, right? They will be able to earn tokens for coming to the farms, for harvesting their veggies, for taking decisions within the ecosystem. So really bringing the community in to be able to interact and nurture the ecosystem, not just us sending them yields and sustainability metrics, but creating that circular economy and where people are more and more involved in businesses. I will say this is it. I don't know if you want me to answer the question in the chat or...
Yes, please answer the question in the chat. I can read it if you want, so everyone can hear it. The yield comes from the stacking, nightshade, or from the sales of the vertical farm products, or both?
Both. So there will be both ways of getting that revenue. And one is effectively stocking, and the other one is with the sales of the vertical farm itself, the vertical farm that person is helping to fund. That is the idea, yes.
Thanks. Can you, is the project of vertical farms, is it targeting to implement this in urban areas? Is it more in developing countries or developed countries? Where's your vision going in that way?
Okay, so at the beginning or right now, we are starting in developed countries. We specifically are starting in Southern Europe, in Portugal and Spain, because it has a lot of natural sunlight. And we really wanted to push forward with a hybrid energy model where we will reduce, and we are reducing by a big percentage the amount of energy used in the farm, just with natural sunlight for the plants and also with solar panels, so photovoltaics that power our systems. But we are actively looking to scale up as fast as we can to be able to reach countries that have more urgency to get a secure way of producing food and a more sustainable way of producing food. So we want to reduce in this first phase the capex, the amount of money you need to build one of these farms. We are trying to reduce it as much as we can, as well as the logistical efforts that we need to do to bring all the materials where we need them. Also, we are working a lot to increase circularity. So we want to get to a point where the farms will be able to use the rainwater for inputting in the water in the reservoir. They will be able to take the CO2 and input it also in the farm, because plants grow faster when you have bigger amount of CO2 in the farms. And once we have a model that is more circular, so we have organic fertilizants coming from our waste, we have the rainwater being able to be used, the natural CO2 to be able to be used. When we have this circularity and the farmers are a little bit more autonomous, then is when we are gonna bring this more economic and more sustainable model to developing countries. So that will be in a second phase as we standardize everything.
Yeah, it makes sense. I have another question from Alexander. Beyond the capex, are you impacted by the recent increasing energy costs?
That's a very good question, and the answer is no. Hopefully, when we built our first vertical farm, we were lucky enough to find secondhand solar panels. So we actually installed 36 square meters of solar panels next to the farm, which is double area of the farm itself. And we are effectively using only 65% of all the energy we produce. So during the daytime, which is where we use more energy because of the temperature control, the humidity control, and there's no lightning during the day. But anyway, those hours, it's all clean energy, and only the hours at nighttime, we do use some energy from the grid. But we are looking also to monetize or to tokenize that clean energy that in the future will give us also a revenue stream that will be very, very helpful for our business model.
That's really amazing. I think you mentioned something very important, and that is all the data collection that you have. It's for the plants, of course, because you can detect if you have a problem with the plants before, even sooner than if they were when they're in a normal farm. But also the transparency, because nowadays with the digital, this is something that it's very difficult to keep things hidden. And your project really from the start, it's really putting all the information, all the data for the transparency of the community, and this helps for people to trust, to support you. And we have one more question. Would you create your NFTs also on the near BC?
So I would say maybe. We are not looking just to have NFTs in one platform. We will have them in as many platforms as it makes sense for us. At the moment, I don't know for specifically for near BC. But yeah, we are open to work with different platforms, even with different blockchains. So not only the NEAR ecosystem, also other ecosystems.
That's good. I remember as a young girl, I learned about hydroponic farming, and it was like from the future, and the future is here now. So this is a beautiful project. Do you have any last remark or last comment that you want to say to inspire anyone who's thinking about involving themselves in farming and Web3?
Well, yes, I will say that we're always looking to find talented people to work with, to find communities that need our farms to be able to provide that for them. So I would say, if you were interested about what we said today here, and you would like to learn more, please follow us on Instagram, on Twitter, specifically on Twitter for the Web3 angle. We are always posting, always keeping that updated. And we even have a community in Telegram of 300 people that are there to be able to share knowledge and comments and doubts. So if you are interested, we are super happy to welcome you to be part of our community. Doesn't matter where you are. Please keep in touch.
From the comments, everyone looks very excited and happy to support and to collaborate. This is it's really good.
Nice.
And thanks, for the Telegram. Other ways for people to contact you. I think they can find you on Instagram, on your website. So definitely check that out. We will move on to our last speaker for KlimaDAO. Hello. Can you explain us what this project is about? And feel free to share a slide, or we're happy to hear you.
Yeah, you know how like the kid feels in class when everyone else has a really good presentation and then you're waiting. So I did find some slides when I was going through, but I thought I would just kind of speak broadly about Klima, and then I'll show some specifics, I think, that touch on like things today. So I'll share my screen. That makes me nervous, but I'll try to do that. But yeah, like I think one of the things that people have touched on, and one of the reasons we created Klima, was in the media and just in general, people here, like in this space, we know the power of blockchains and transparency, but it's still something that a lot of people just don't quite get yet or see the power behind. And for a lot of people, especially, someone was talking about proof of work, Ethereum, in the comments. I mean, this has been a huge pain point for everyone. Even if you're not building on Ethereum, and if you're on a proof of stake chain or something else, you might get like chastised, or people automatically assume that all of crypto is bad. And so when we launched Klima, we really wanted a way to have access to the voluntary carbon market. And what that is it's voluntary projects, typically when individuals or businesses, or recently, like we've worked with a lot of NFT artists or Ethereum applications, they want to be carbon neutral, or they want to be carbon negative. Well, that's wonderful. And a lot of people would agree to that, but they have no idea of like how to start or where to like get these offsets or carbon removals. And so we wanted a way to give people action to take immediately for buying and retiring offsets, but also to show that this can actually be a way to further climate change, and not just be like a way to offset people, but provide funding to new projects, bring transparency into this market, and really democratize access to these types of offsets. Today, anyone can go and buy an offset today from groups like Moss Earth. They've been around for a while. You've probably seen stuff about Toucan, and there are other groups that are hard at work on building the infrastructure to tokenize these offsets. And you can buy and retire in a matter of minutes. And I know 1,000 Faces, y'all have done an offset. You're going to share your pledge page. So we'll touch more on that later. But prior to Klima, and prior to some of the tokenization of these offsets, it might take weeks to go and find these credits, you typically needed a business account on a place like Vera or Gold Standard, and you probably needed to have capital, and you got to go talk to project developers and do what's called OTC, or like over-the-counter trading. And it just is slow and inefficient. And so this is kind of where I'll share my screen if I can, just to touch on some of these points. Oh, it says host disabled. Oh, there you go. Thank
yeah,
you.
you can do.
I was like, I did something wrong. All right. Does this look okay? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Looks good. Yeah.
So when I was talking more broadly about, the need to really accelerate this space, offsets are often a tool or a strategy that are used for groups that are wanting to be more climate positive. It is not the be all end all, but a part of a toolkit. And offsets and removals and direct emissions are all needed, to really avoid major catastrophe. And in this, the reason we launched KlimaDAO is this VCM, this voluntary carbon market, needs to grow by a lot to even have this kind of impact. So it's grown tremendously in the last few years, and I would like to think Klima and some of these tokenized applications have helped, but it's still too small. It needs to grow. So here's a really simple graph that shows how this works. I joke a bit, but as I mentioned, there's registries. They publish standards, and these are important. You want to support projects that are sound and are accredited. And there are project developers that finance projects. Maybe it's renewable energy, forestry projects. I'll touch on more of those examples later. But the process, it can take sometimes 2 to 3 years to start from inception of project to getting verified credits that are then eventually bought by users. And so what KlimaDAO has done is really built tools to interact with these offsets and obfuscate a lot of these steps or get rid of these steps before that would slow people down and have sort of been slowing down the market. So as I mentioned earlier, the media hasn't been super friendly to blockchain, but there is promise in the technology. And we think that by also going back and offsetting emissions from previous blockchains and also applying their technology to future efforts, it's just hard to disagree with that kind of innovation. So I thought this was a kind of a nice quote from the World Bank, just on that narrative. So yeah, isn't blockchain bad for the environment? Even after the merge, even if you are using proof of stake, people still might ask you this. Everyone here probably gets this question all the time, and it just depends. So we've spent a lot of time explaining and putting out content for our community and just for others to realize that there are some trade-offs, but a lot has changed with Ethereum, and there are just different types of networks. Okay. So off-chain refers to sort of how offsets, if you wanted to partake in carbon offsetting, how it worked prior on the left and kind of how it works today. And I won't touch on everything, but just doing it on chain is so much faster. Literally, like instead of weeks on the left, fragmented sales, OTC, you don't know if you're getting like a fair price sometimes. It's just not a good position to be in. Versus looking at a pool of offsets, fees being minimal on Polygon, and guess what? Like anyone can go and do this, and you can verify your impact with a transaction. So as I mentioned, how does this all work? KlimaDAO doesn't actually go out and buy these offsets. KlimaDAO is a carbon-backed cryptocurrency. So users will contribute carbon offsets into our treasury in exchange for more Klima. But we're not alone in this. There are other groups involved, as I mentioned earlier, Moss and Toucan. They've built the rails to tokenize these projects. Klima, we ingest them into our treasury. That's a separate conversation. But we've also built a lot of these tools to easily retire these credits programmatically. Like we're working on something with sushi where for every sushi swap transaction, portion will be offset. And that just couldn't happen unless these offsets were tokenized to be put on a blockchain and fractionalized. And as I mentioned, there's pools of these assets. So customers and anyone that wants to support can pick specific projects from the on-chain market. And it just is a much more enjoyable user experience. So here's some of the friendly faces. So you might have seen some of these names like Base Carbon Ton and Nature Carbon Ton, Moss Carbon Ton, MCO2. And these are just sort of the different types of offsets available. And even within those tokens, there are specific projects, and I'll touch on that in a little bit. So power blockchain, right? What are the data insights? Why does this matter? This is a screenshot from, looks a lot better live if you want to check out the website sometime, but this is from carbon.klimadao.finance. And this is pulling from some off-chain data about carbon offsets in the meat space, as we say, and then also what's been tokenized and brought online. And whenever we're having conversations with anyone about the impact of Klima or providing examples, we like to show these sorts of dashboards because they're in real time and users can immediately see where are these projects from, what year was that project produced, is this a forestry project, is it a renewable energy project, and they have that ability to drill down and see more. This is an example of when you want to make an offset, kind of the process you'd go through. This is on Polygon, and yeah, just kind of a quick tool. Okay, I see the questions. I will probably come to these at the end. I didn't mean to ignore you. I'll come back because they are valid. Yeah, so I mentioned retiring these specific projects, like someone was asking in here, are these, is there additionality or some of these removals? So within these pools, there are examples of, this is the NBO or nature-based offset pool. So these projects are primarily forestry projects, examples of like, the Santa Maria project. There's also another one like Rimbaraya. And some of these even touch, multiple SDGs, in some cases like 10 or 12 plus. And so there are forestry and there will be mangrove tokenized offsets in the future, but there are forestry ones available today. And there are also examples of renewable energy projects. We're working on improving how this looks. Admittedly, you're reading like this Pagaji Red Plus project. It's a beautiful project. There should be like more photos and images of that project. So still for the user experience, it could be improved. But this sort of specific project selection and transparency is just not available off blockchain. So this is something that's really unique to us. And we'll link, these also link back to show you where was this project certified, what standards has it met, and those sorts of detail. Yeah, so rather than relying like on old stale data, we want to show people like what's happening in real time, who's retired what's available, and just to use that benefit of the blockchain. So since we've launched, we're coming up on a year, which has felt like 6 years. I think I've aged 6 years in this process. So yeah, we're up on a year. But because of and this isn't just KlimaDAO alone, this is some of it through Toucan and groups like Moss, but we really pushed up the price of voluntary carbon credits. And this is a good thing for, I'll say, a variety of reasons. One of the critiques of offsets is, well, people will just buy a bunch of offsets and not worry about their emissions, or, they can just price themselves out. And, in some regard, that might be true, but as the price of carbon goes up, you're better off incentive, financially at least, just reducing your emissions directly. So we want the price of carbon to go up. Frankly, it needs to be higher. So KlimaDAO was a way to really drive demand for getting more just momentum and action on these types of credits, but also creating a market on chain so buyers in the future and even project developers have a price idea of hey, is it worth doing an offset project? It sounds like it because the price has increased. So that's kind of a cool little tidbit. In our own treasury, we have about 18.5 million tons of these tokenized carbon credits. And we have like some stats on our homepage if you want to see, some of those equivalencies, but this is all available in our dashboards. And along with like Thousand Faces, thank you again for working with us. We've helped other groups go out and calculate their emissions and use our platform to generate these offset retirements with transactions and proudly show like, hey, we've taken change, no matter how big or small. It helps, and users can show that data in a dashboard, and it's just pretty powerful. So thank you. Yeah, I said those last 2 points. And yeah, I'll kind of stop there and maybe take some of those questions or look back at them. But yeah, we're really looking forward to more integrations. It's only been a year, but the fourth point, this deploy treasury funds into future offset projects, is where I think things can get really interesting. One of the critiques on Klima and the VCM right now is, well, you only have projects from like Vera or Gold Standard. What about people that are creating their own, projects, or what about stuff that could be funded sooner that doesn't just have time to wait, perhaps more experimental. So I know KlimaDAO, along with other groups, we're looking at digital MRV technologies, where there are different types of projects and accreditations that are new from more blockchain friendly groups, and using funds to provide future funding for those projects. And I just think that is going to be what's next, and frankly, really cool, and something else to kind of poke at the media and say, look, blockchain is not only helping people with this, but then it's also a mechanism for future funding that just couldn't maybe be done in a traditional sense. All right, let me look at the questions, sorry. Yeah, so someone mentioned like additionality. Yeah, there are projects that they need to show additionality. There are cases where projects have more components and co-benefits than others. I think that's kind of the thing I'm hopeful for with this future funding, is we'll see other innovative types of projects that just haven't come to market yet and are a little bit more experimental, but there's healthy demand and I think appetite for that, especially with the on-chain market. Okay, so how do we choose projects? So KlimaDAO doesn't choose the projects itself. That was kind of more, that would be more related to Toucan and Moss. And there's a few other groups that are working on setting the parameters for what can be tokenized. So for that question about choosing projects and those kind of criteria, I would say a lot of times it's happening on these governance forums of Moss and Toucan. So it's sort of a community decision. And when this first started, as you can imagine, we wanted to set a bar along with Toucan, who built the infrastructure, to set some guardrails of what could actually be tokenized. And I think over time, you'll see new pools and different types of projects evolve. For instance, there'll be some mangrove projects that are tokenized that have their own pool. And those just are a different type of project, so they cannot be in the same pool as another. So there'll be more of those to kind of come. Follow the improvements of the projects. I'll have more on that. So right now, there are updates usually through Vera, and some of the projects themselves maintain their own websites, like the project developers. One thing I've always wanted personally at these places is like a live webcam in the area, whether it's in the forest or near like the solar panels or near the wind turbines. to give people like that just visual connection. So it could be improved. Unfortunately, it's a little bit out of our hands, but a lot of the larger projects will maintain their own socials. And I'm hopeful in the future we'll have more like, hopefully like Internet of Things or data coming from those projects. Advancements of the projects. So project developers, part of the reason why the price of carbon going up is helpful is if you're a project developer now, it's more lucrative, or you might be more incentivized to actually create your carbon project. A small example I've heard of, like in parts of South America, are parts of like forestry land that could be raised or cleared immediately, right, for money, the wood or other materials, or used for agriculture. That's a more immediate kind of return on investment, as opposed to more of a long-term play of, if we can get certified or find a way to tokenize our offsets, and we know that there's a price point on the market from these pooled assets, and liquidity for the project developer to, the project developer, makes money by selling those offsets. So they need to have like some more price assurance. I can't talk about the price so much legally, so I will avoid that question, fortunately. I would say come to our office hours for more on that. But the overall mechanics of the project and sort of what we're after haven't changed. And we have about 60,000 holders of our token. We have major impact, and we're making inroads to these future projects. So yeah, it's been a long year, but very happy with kind of what we've ended up with. So I think I can end there.
Amazing presentation. Maybe we're coming up with the time. Maybe I will just take one last question from the audience, just to hear your thoughts about this. Where is it? Sorry. How could carbon offsetting be combined with other technologies to help save the planet? Maybe your thoughts on that.
Yeah. So as I was saying at the beginning, carbon offsets are great, and they are a way for people to take like immediate action, but there are also carbon removals, like direct carbon removals. There's things like just reducing your own footprint. It's a multitude of strategies, right? Like improving your diet, like what you're eating, the materials you consume and support with your dollars, where your money's held, like in banks and things like that. So, again, carbon offsets are great. They are a strategy. And for companies or individuals that want to be carbon negative, that's usually a portion of what they're doing. But sometimes people wonder like, well, is it okay if I just offset, what I've emitted? And yeah, probably, that's better than not doing anything. But then in individuals or corporations, oftentimes you'll see we're climate negative, or planet positive or carbon negative, meaning we've helped contribute for the removal and avoidance of more emissions than we personally have generated. And that is sort of a bragging right, and a way to show, more support. So offsets, they're great. They're usually a piece of someone's strategy.
Thank you so much. I wish we could have more time with each one of you to dive even deeper in the project. They're amazing ideas. I have maybe just one last question. Do you plan to do carbon removal activities too?
Good question. So I was just typing, like, when they're tokenized, right? Like one of the challenges with this now is like liquidity and having like access to these products. So I haven't seen any efforts to like tokenize these. Oftentimes they're smaller in supply, right? Like sometimes these direct removal of carbon for 1 ton might be 500 to $1,000 US. And part of that is because it's used to go into the research and development to make that technology more efficient. It is generally expensive to like directly remove the carbon. However, it is awesome, and we hope that the cost of doing that will come down over time. So if there's a tokenization method for those sort of credits, it's very possible. We're a DAO, so if someone does have, in the future, or it does become an opportunity, it's something that we would vote on kind of as a community of which assets can come into like our kind of treasury. But I would keep your eye on other groups like there's one called C3, Moss, and Toucan. They're the ones sort of building the infrastructure for how these things get, I almost said toucanized, but just tokenized and accessible from different types of blockchains. And that is one thing I'll add earlier, like someone mentioned chain agnostic. I think that's pretty smart. Like in order for this to work, we've built partnerships where people using Ethereum or other EVMs can interact with, we're on Polygon through protocols called like LiFi, li.fi, and this cross-chain interaction. And so we don't want it to be a deal breaker for anyone if they want to take action, like they have to move their assets and get a new wallet. No, like if there's a way to do it from your network and just retire the tons, then that's how it should be. Because onboarding for users to crypto is still really bad, frankly. I mean, if you've ever tried to explain this to your parents, they're going to think you're crazy. So we're still early.
Okay, thank you so much. So, as I said, we could take a lot more time with each one of you. They're all different projects. We're all kind of fighting for the same, and you're all taking different aspects of it. And these are some important points and aspects that each project has: community, transparency. To consider, if you're coming into this world, consider sustainability, environment, and from the beginning, and take action on that. And it's the impact that we start having starts at the local level with our communities, our relationships, and it can have a big impact in the world, as we saw with the 3 projects. And think outside of the box, as these 3 projects are doing. So some important announcements coming up for 1,000 Faces. Join our Discord. Our community's active at Discord, so feel free to jump in and say hi. We launched a campaign for Masa Amini, and it's a call for artists, poets, and we want to give a voice to women and the situation that is happening. So it's published how the campaign is working on our social media. So definitely, if you know an artist or you're an artist, please check this out and help to share. It's important to share the voice. There's an event happening from at Dubai, October 10 to 14, JITEX. And one of our amazing co-founders, Mujang, will be presenting Closing the Funding Gap Through AI and Web3. So definitely, she has a panel with amazing speakers, so definitely check out. And we have an amazing announcement coming up for 1,000 Faces on October 13th. So keep your eyes out on this date. Thank you so much, everyone, for participating. Lucia said to keep in touch, please find her on LinkedIn and Lucia Salas, and on Twitter, Rice Farm. We can give for Blue Ocean economy. We can
Blue Heart Economy.
Blue Heart Economy, sorry. Where can people find you?
We have Unlockable Content Agency, unlockablecontent.agency. And that's really how we are on all of our channels on Instagram, Twitter, and we're still getting our Discord up and running. But Cosmic Cats 420 does have a Discord, but it's, again, so many Discord channels. It's hard to catch up.
Thank you. And definitely check out the campaign. We have shared the document in the comments, and we'll be continue sharing it on social media. So please check it out. Thank you so much, everyone. This was really insightful, and thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, awesome.
Very much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Job.
Thank you.
Bye, and have a good evening or morning, day, wherever in the world you are joining us from. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Very amazing, inspiring. Lucia, I'm
Yes.
gonna be in Lisbon, so we should probably meet for a Web
Yeah,
Summit
definitely.
if you're there.
Let's
Yeah.
keep in touch.
Awesome. I just added you on LinkedIn.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Thank you so much.
Bye.
Bye. So I'm gonna pause.